Brilliant. Well, hello, everybody. Today is the 3rd of August, I believe, and welcome to the Lavenia Success Mastermind. Oh, my goodness. Where is this year going? Where is this year going? Where is this year going? I can't believe we're in August already. So what was coming up for me? I read something and it just brought back a story. So I will end up telling a story at some point. But as a preamble, I read something, I think it was Bob Proctor who said this, that any law we obey will work for us, right? So let me backtrack a bit. I've been mulling over stuff. I listen to all sorts of things. I read all sorts of things. And so today for a topic, if you're looking for one, it's delay is not denial, but there's a bit of preamble before I get there. So I'm just going to say welcome again to everybody who's joined since we started the conversation. I see Janet, I see Mark, I see Robin. Hey, Stefan. Daisy was already here, and I think Khaled should be on now and not still trying to connect. Yes, I see him. Brilliant. Hello, everybody. My name is Ivié. I'm your host today, and welcome to the Lavenia Success Mastermind. So where I started was I saw something, or I read something about Bob Proctor saying that any law that we obey will work for us, right? And that got me thinking about what kind, how many laws could I come up with? And right off the top of my head, I was like, you know what? As long as we are on this side, as Mark would say, of the permafrost, there's seed time and there's harvest, right? The tide goes out, the tide comes in. The sun rises, the sun sets. Those are laws that cannot be broken. Law of gravity. If you throw something up, it's going to come right back down, right? So those are things that it doesn't matter how you feel about it. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. These are unchangeable laws. That's why they're laws. The laws don't change with our feelings. The laws don't change with our thoughts. It doesn't matter if you woke up on the right side of bed or the wrong side of bed. The laws are still laws, right? So I started thinking about this and I said, what else could I almost say with 100% certainty that if we obey those or if we believe those will become a reality or will work for us? And something that jumped right out of my mind was that your dreams will come true. It doesn't matter how long it takes. As long as you believe in those dreams, if you still focus on them, if you still give those dreams energy, right, they will come true. It's another law. If you feed the beast will get bigger, right? So the fact that it might be taking time to realize certain goals, certain dreams, doesn't mean it's not going to happen, right? So the title, if you're looking for a title for today's talk, today's chat, it's called Delay is Not Denial. And this is where I get into my story, because I started with the whole Bob Proctor thing. But then, of course, as you know, my mind goes down several rabbit holes and I come out the other side, very far away sometimes from where I began, but somehow it all ties in together, right? So we started by saying laws that we obey will work for us. And I then took that in my thinking to say what else we obey or what else we focus on will become a reality. Now, we know there are many things, right? If you focus on the negative will manifest itself, right? If you focus on the positive, you'll get more of that. Like John says, whatever we give our attention to, that's what's going to come back manifold to us, right? So today, what I wanted to talk about was delay is not denial. It doesn't matter if something is taking time to materialize or to become a reality. The fact that it's taking time maybe just means it has to be in the oven a bit longer, right? If you think about different things that we stick in the oven, right? A chicken takes about 1.5 hours, depends on the size of the chicken. A turkey, bigger kind of chicken, is going to take much longer in the oven, right? A cake is going to take longer than cookies or biscuits. So you get where I'm saying, right? So it just depends on how big those dreams are. If they're taking a bit of time to become a reality, don't think it's not going to happen because it's taking a bit longer than you thought it was. So this is where I get into my story. And this is where my thought process went. It took me back to a young lady who I think she was raised by her mom, but then her mom died when she was really young. She never knew her dad. And we don't know the background where the dad went, if he disappeared. We don't know anything about him, right? So there was this young girl, and because her mom had died and she literally had nobody else to take care of her, her mom had 2 siblings, a sister and a brother. And the sister was like, okay, you can come to my house. So they lived in like different parts of the country. And so when her mom died, she obviously had to be shipped over to where the aunt was, right? And she gets to the aunt's house, and the aunt doesn't send her to school, doesn't give her pocket money, but rather makes her, I'm going to use a very nice word, but she was less than this, right? She became the nanny kind of thing, but she did everything: cooking, cleaning, scrubbing, you name it, right? And it was never given, new pairs of shoes, was always given the hand-me-down clothes from the children. So you can just imagine, she looked like a street urchin in her aunt's house, right? And so this was her life, like this was her lot in life. And she thought, oh my God, I'm never going to amount to anything, right? But she cooked, she cleaned, she learned. I mean, she managed that house like clockwork, right? And it was almost like when people came into the house, they were like, will compliment the aunts to say, oh my God, you have a very well-run home. How do you manage to keep everything going right? Oh my God, food's on the table when it's meant to be. The place is spick and span. The kids are well dressed and they're ready to go. Blah, 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 blah. The lunch boxes are all packed. And I mean, she got accolades galore as to what an executive homemaker she was, right? Not knowing it was this little girl in the back of the house, quiet, just getting on with things, that was making everything work, right? Fast forward 10, 15 years, she's already obviously grown. She's no longer as small. And then, of course, the children have also grown, right? So now they call her Aunt So-and-so because, I mean, for once, yes, they're cousins, but because the age gap was so wide, they kind of like deferred to her as an aunt. But still, she had no education. She had no skills of any sort, didn't know how to do, I mean, apart from cook, clean, keep house, there was really nothing else that she was capable of doing, right? And now these are folks that, the aunt had like lots of like clubs and groups that she belonged to. So there was some women's group that would come to the house once a month. She had another like charity thing where they would pack food and stuff and go to, like motherless babies' homes and like give stuff away, like clothes and whatever. So she was kind of like, she had her hands in, many kind of pies, right? But she just never took care of her niece, right? Rather used her niece as free labor. Like I said, I used a very nice word, nanny, right? But she was less than that. So if you can picture this was like how she grew up, right? And now obviously she's grown up. She's still keeping house for her aunt. I mean, her aunt doesn't know what's what in the kitchen, when stuff is going to run out. I mean, this young lady pretty much says to her aunt, oh, we're running out of this. We need to go to the market, or we need to go to the shops to get this. Her aunt knew nothing about what was happening. And then one day, the group of women that come every month to the house came and they were chatting. And one of the women was like, oh my God, that she had I don't think it was her son. I think it was a nephew. And he said to the young lady's aunt and said, oh, my nephew is kind of like, looking for, somebody to get married to. He's ready to settle down, blah, blah, blah. And he happened to come that day to pick his aunt up, right? And there he was, just waiting in the car for his aunt to come out. And then he spots this young lady getting the clothes off the line, right? So she's folding them, putting them in the laundry basket, minding her own business, not doing anything. But he spotted her from the car and he was like, nice young lady. Like he'd never seen her before. I think he'd probably come to the house once or twice, but he just had never bumped into her. And so, of course, when his aunt came out, he was like, okay, who was that young lady I saw her? Like, just taking clothes off the line. She was folding them all nicely into the laundry basket, blah, blah, blah. And so her aunt began to tell her nephew this story. Rather, his aunt began to tell him the story, right? So, of course, she kind of like broke everything down to say, oh, her mom died when she was very young. She never knew her dad. She's got no education, but she's pretty much kept house and run the show and gotten the kids ready over the years for this friend of hers, right? And the young man was like, interesting, right? Like, I'm looking to settle down. And that's the kind of person that I wouldn't mind having, right? That can like just order my day, right? Just structure, just take control of all the stuff that I'm not so good at, right? But he said also what he would want to do would be start a business for her. So at least she could have her own thing that she could call her own. That he didn't want a slave. He didn't want somebody he couldn't reason with. He got that she didn't have any formal education, but it wasn't like she was daft. She was obviously like skilled and able to do stuff and not a lazy bum, right? So he was like, you know what? I'm kind of like warming up to this idea that she could be the one for me. And of course, his aunt was like she went ballistic. She was like, how can you say this? You got a master's degree, you're this, you're that, you've been educated, da, da, da. And she just went off and said, no, you need somebody who can reason on your level, somebody who has the same educational, I mean, she just went off at him. And so he kept quiet. He just let her say everything she was going to say. And a week later, he went to her house and he said, Aunt, I've thought about it and I really feel strongly that that's the young lady for me. The aunt was like speechless. She was like, oh my God, I'm not even having this conversation. So of course she calls so-called elders, so the older people in the family, to talk some sense into the young man, to say, come on, there's so many people. I mean, you went to school with people, you could pick anybody. Why all of a sudden, somebody you've only seen once, you've never even spoken to her, so you don't even know if she can hold a conversation. What about this woman has attracted you from seeing her from a distance, right? Just one time you were in the car, she was taking clothes off the line. Like, how do you think this is somebody you can have, a future with? He said he couldn't explain it, but he just felt this is who he had to be with. So they were like, you know what, fine. If this is what you want to do, we're going to ask, obviously, the aunt to let her come out, and maybe you can take her for a drink or, whatever. And let's just see what, everybody was like, because the young guy was just so adamant that this was what he wanted. So they were like, okay, fine. If this is what you really want, at least speak to her and see if you guys can reason, if there's a meeting of minds, if there's anything there, because you might just be seeing what you want to see from a distance. You don't know the first thing about her other than what I've told you. So anyhow, all very nervous, he goes around the house in his car, and the aunt of the young lady concerned says, oh, she's never really been out before, so I don't know where you're going to take her to, but you just need to know that, she might not be into fancy stuff because we don't really take her out. She's always been in the house, blah, blah, blah. Apart from if we went out and we needed her to take care of the kids, she didn't really go anywhere. She had nowhere to go. I mean, she didn't go to school, didn't learn a craft, nothing, right? So the young man says not to worry, he knows what to do. So anyway, the young lady comes out and, he says, hello to her, and says, okay, he wants to take her out for a meal. And immediately she was like, oh my God, why would you want to go out for a meal? It's going to be so expensive. And with whatever you're going to pay at the restaurant, I can probably come to yours and make something. And this guy was like, excuse me, I want to take you out for a meal. And here she was saying, no, that's not a cost-effective option, blah, blah. And that was the first interaction they had. And all of a sudden he said, was it that she didn't understand that he wanted to take her out for a meal on a date? Or was she just so efficient and so conscious and therefore not a money grabber or, whatever, that she was just thinking of his welfare? But either way, he was intrigued and he was like, you know what? Okay, I'll tell you what, this one time, let's just go out. If it works out, the next time, I promise you, we'll cook something together. So the young lady is anyway, they got to the restaurant. He kind of took her to not quite a restaurant, not quite a cafe, but something in between where she wouldn't really feel out of sorts, right? So he was like, look, this is kind of not a cafe, not a restaurant, but it's sort of in between. So I think we'll be fine here. I've asked for a quiet table. So I hope it's fine. Let's just see how it goes. Anyway, they got the menu and she saw the price tags next to all of this stuff. And she was like, do you know I can go shopping and I can get every ingredient that anything I could eat on this menu, and I could make it, and I'll probably make it better than what, we're going to get tonight. And the young man just said, you know what? I promise you, just for today, don't think about the fact that you can probably make this better, right? Let's just have a conversation. And I promise you, if this becomes another time round, we'll cook something together. So once again, she was like, well, it's your money if you want to waste it, da, da, da. Anyway, they sat down, had a meal, and they got talking. Now, of course, she wasn't all prim and proper, and she wasn't posh, and she wasn't, she was just down to earth and just spoke her mind, right? She just said, well, I've got nothing to lose. He wants to take me out. He wants to waste his money. Well, that's fine, right? So he would ask her questions about, so one of the questions he asked her was, what did she see herself doing? And she was like, what do you mean, what do I see myself doing? I'm already in my aunt's house and I've been there for years and that's what I think I'm going to be doing. And he was like, no, but don't you want to own your own thing at some point? And she was like, well, I'm not educated. I haven't got the right capital, blah, 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 blah. So I don't really see myself owning my own thing. And then he said, well, there are quite a few things I can think of that you can do that will be your own thing. I mean, for starters, you cook really well. So you could probably run a place like this. Or you could cook to order, or you could cook for functions. So that was all the things that he was thinking about down the cooking side. But then he said, something that I think would be even better is something that's in high demand. You know how to keep house, right? You clean really well. Your aunt has never complained. How about you take maybe a group of young ladies, young men, and you train them up, right? And you become like a cleaning service, and you just go people's homes, and once a week, once in 2 weeks, once a month, and you just clean their homes. And that could be your own business. And as they get more comfortable and more up to your standards of cleaning, you can actually set up different teams. So you can have, you can, it's a business, but it can start somewhere. And so she got thinking. She was like, well, yeah, but everything you're talking about is going to require capital, is going to require some kind of connections, because I mean, she didn't know the term marketing or whatever, and then the young man was like, well, I can put up the capital. And she was like, but you don't know me. This is like our first conversation. Like, why would you want to do all of this? And he was like, look, I'm going to be honest with you. My aunt is one of the ladies that comes to your aunt's house once a month. And I said to her, I was thinking of settling down. And I came to pick my aunt up the last month, and I just saw you getting clothes off the line, and there was something intriguing about you. Like, so that's why I asked for us to go out today. And she was like, but you don't know me. So why would you think I'd be somebody you can have a future with? And the young man was like, look, I really don't know why, but I just feel you're the person for me. And she was like, but how's that going to work? Like, I don't really have anything to offer you. I don't have family apart from my aunt and my uncle. They'll probably give me away. But, what does your family feel like? Because, I mean, you got your car, you got your job, you're obviously well-to-do, you're well-spoken, you're well-educated, blah, blah, blah. And, there's this whole status thing, I'm not quite your standard, blah, blah. And he was like, look, none of that was your fault, right? If your parents were still alive, you would have some kind of education. But regardless of what's happening, if you can tell me what you see yourself doing, what you're more comfortable with, I can tell you what, we can make it work, right? And so this young lady says she'll think about it. So he drops her off at her aunt's place, and her aunt, asks her, oh, so how did it go? I'm sure you embarrassed yourself and the rest of us, and blah. And how that such a nice young man will think, you could be on his level, and, he could have a future with you is besides me. And she just went on. The young lady just, stood there, listened to her aunt, everything, whatever she said, and she went, to her room. The next day she was thinking about this. She was like, you know what, really? I have kept house, I can cook, I know how to shop, budgeting, blah, blah, blah. So there's no reason why all of the ideas this young man like ran by me, I can't do any of them. But she was like, you know what will I really find joy doing? Is it the cooking thing? Is it the cleaning thing? So she started thinking about this. And of course, she didn't have a mobile or anything. So every time the young man wanted to contact her, he would have to call the house phone. And sometimes the aunt would pick up and she'd say, oh, she's not available, she's working, right? So she didn't get to speak to him that much. I mean, if they spoke once or twice, it was a lot, right? Anyway, he came around again and said, okay, he was happy, he wanted to have another date, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, this time he had to keep his word, that she wasn't going to a restaurant, that she'd rather cook something. So he was like, okay, fine, let's do that. So they went back to his place and she cooked a meal. And he was like, oh my goodness, you made all of this in this little time? Like, I didn't have anything prepped like in the freezer or in the fridge or anything. So all of this was from scratch. She was like, yeah, if you know what you're doing, you can actually just shop. You can rustle up a meal in no time. The young man was like uber impressed. He was like, oh my goodness, who is this person, right? And he was like, he was sold. So so after that night, he dropped her at home, called his aunt and said, you know what? I found my soulmate. That's it. This is the young lady I want to be with, blah, blah. So they got conversations happening. Both families started talking. But once again, this young lady hadn't told him what it was she wanted, right? She'd always dreamt that she would have her own children, she'd be married, she'd have her own home, but this was not stuff she told anybody, right? And as the years went by, she kind of like thought, well, it's not happening. Where am I going to meet people? I never go out. I'm stuck with the family. If I'm not taking care of the kids, blah, blah, blah. I have no craft. I have nothing to offer. But in the back of her mind, she had this idea, like this would happen, right? By this time, she was in her mid-30s, right? And still nothing was happening. And so anyway, conversations happening with, between both families, and they got married, long story short, right? So they got married by the time she was 37. 40 came and went, no children. 42 came and went, no children. 45 came and went, no children. Not for lack of trying. They'd done the IVF route, they've done everything, nothing was happening. In the meantime, he said to her, what do you want to do in terms of business? She still could not believe her luck, right? That this young man not only had married her, but now was still harping on about the business thing. But she knew that she had to like have a child, otherwise nothing was going to happen. So on her 48th birthday, I believe, she finally gave in and said to him, you know what? I've really been thinking of what you said, and I think the cleaning service thing would be good because I can train people up. I mean, I've been doing this for years now. I know what I'm doing, and I can clean a whole house, like a 3-bedroom house, in no time at all. And once I train people up, I can have something, right? So the guy was like, good, let's put this together. So he kind of helped out with the whole business plan thing, blah, blah, blah. He set her up, gave her the capital, said, look, you don't owe me anything. You're my wife. Everything I have is yours. Everything you have is mine, blah, 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 all that. Yeah, talk, right? So anyway, she started with one team. So she had, I think, 3 young ladies and 1 young man. And then he got her like a little van with a driver. And so she had vacuum cleaner, mops, everything she needed to start this, right? So she started training them by them cleaning their house, right? And in no time at all, they kind of like got, the ins and outs of it. So she then said to her husband that, she was ready to now take the team out. And the husband was like, okay, fine. I'll put word out to a few of my friends and just see if they want that kind of service. And of course, the friends were like, yes, please. Nobody liked cleaning. That either their wives were high maintenance or they weren't interested or they had cleaning service that had stolen, didn't do a good job, whatever. They were all like really like gasping, like, yes, please. How soon can she come, right? So she started, she had Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And before she knew it, she had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? She insisted she wasn't going to work on Sunday because she needed a day off. And she obviously had to rest her team as well. The business took off like you cannot believe, right? And this was something that obviously word spread. And after a while, she like had to get another team and another team. So by the time she turned 49, she had 10 cleaning teams going. The husband had, between the business, doing well and all of that, they had 4 vans. She had 10 teams by the age of 49. Then one of the clients that she had, I think one of the people she started with, said, oh my goodness, you need to do some advertising, because she had no idea what that one was talking about. And she's like, you know what, I'll make you up an Instagram page, and we'll just put your details up on there. So this was her 49th birthday, right? In a matter of months, 3 months, she had 10,000 followers, right? People were like, oh my God, I'm going to spread the word. Your work is good. Your prices are reasonable, blah, blah, blah. She was snowed under, right? By her 50th birthday, she goes to the doctor because she's not feeling too well. And the doctor says, you're pregnant. Now, bearing in mind, she got married at 37. This is 50, right? 13 years in the making. She's 50. She has her first pregnancy. Not that she'd been pregnant and she'd lost the pregnancies. First pregnancy at age of 50, right? She has a thriving business now, thanks to her husband. She has an Instagram page with thousands of followers, right? And now at age 50, she's pregnant for the first time. Now, you will not believe that this is a woman who, no education, no skills to speak home about apart from homemaking skills, cooking, cleaning, etc. No formal education, no makeover, no nothing. At age 51, she has her first kid. And then she says, you know what? That's it. I have a kid now, sound business, don't need anything else, right? This was a dream that she'd had from way before her mom passed, right? She saw herself with a family in her home and maybe some side business. She didn't really think of a thriving business. She just thought a little something on the side where she could have her own money, right? But here she is at age 51. She's married to a very generous and kind man who's helped her start a thriving business. She has thousands of followers on Instagram. She knew nothing about e-commerce, Instagram, iPhones, internet, you name, whatever. She knew nothing about that, right? She's picked up all of these things. At age 50, she's pregnant for the first time. 51, she has a kid of her own. Of course, she took time away from the business to nurse her kid, blah, blah. And then she thought, this Instagram thing, maybe I can do. She hadn't even like followed up with the Instagram thing. She then started like doing stuff, like taking photos, before and after photos. Within 6 months, she had over 100,000 followers on Instagram. Her business had, forget doubled, forget tripled. She now had people reporting into her. So she wasn't going out cleaning anymore. From the moment she knew she was pregnant, she didn't want to be around the chemicals or whatever. That was it. She didn't do any of that anymore, right? So now she has cleaning crews all over the suburbs around where she lives, right? She's an employer of people. She has people reporting into her. She doesn't even do her, she never did her books, never did any of that because she didn't have the training. So she has an accountant, a lawyer, somebody who does her Instagram thing now because over 100,000 followers. She was like, you know what, she's getting too busy. She just wanted to be a homemaker, take care of her kid, take care of her husband, and that was it, right? So now she has turned 52. At the age of 52, the doctor says, you're pregnant again, ma'am. So she has one kid, she's married, thriving business, and at age 52, she has her second pregnancy. Not second, like after miscarriages or whatever, second ever pregnancy, right? Kid comes out all healthy. Now she has a boy, she has a girl, one of each. The husband is like, you know what? I don't need anything else. Let's just close shop. That's okay. You got your business. Work is going well. He was also rising where he was working. They were comfortable, right? Now, picture her beginnings, right? Everything that could have gone against her went against her, right? And at this point, she'd given up on herself. It took somebody who believed in her to say, you can do this, right? It took a connector, just somebody who believed in her, who just said, you know what? I will use my connections. I will introduce you to my friends. You can start the cleaning business in their homes, right? Today, she is successful, right? So I don't know if this is resonating with anyone, right? I think she's now 55. And as though anything couldn't get worse, at the age of 54, she was diagnosed with cancer, but she's a cancer survivor. She's 55, right? So I've kind of like condensed her life story into 20 something minutes on here, just for you to know that I don't know where you're at. I don't know what your dreams are. I don't know how long you think it's taking for those dreams to become a reality, right? But the fact that it hasn't happened, the fact that there's a delay doesn't mean it's not going to happen, right? Anything you believe in, anything you give energy to, anything you feed will grow, will become a reality, will duplicate, will come back manifold into, to you. Just like laws that we obey serve us, anything we feed, anything we focus on becomes our reality. So I don't know who I'm speaking to today. If there's been any delay, I don't know what it is you're hoping for. A house, kids, a life partner, I don't know what it is, right? The fact that it hasn't happened, that it's taking time, that there's been some kind of delay after the other, there's been some kind of obstacle after the other, doesn't mean it's not going to happen, right? Just keep thinking about it, keep focusing on it, keep it top of mind, keep it front of mind, write it down, meditate on it. I mean, this is stuff we've read in all the books, right? If we give this attention, if we picture ourselves, right, already actualize, already realize whatever dreams it is we're looking for, right, it will happen. Just like seed time and harvest, the tide goes in, tide goes out. I mean, sun rises, sun sets. Those are laws. It doesn't matter, that you may not be feeling it, you may not believe it. Those laws don't change. The same thing is if you feed your dreams, if you focus on your dreams, nothing will stand against them not happening, provided you still believe. So I don't know how long it's taking for something to become what it is you want it to be, but don't give up. Don't say it's not going to happen just because there's been a delay. Keep it top of mind, keep focusing on it, keep feeding it, and it will become a reality. So like I said, if you're looking for a topic, if you're looking for a headliner, delay is not denial. It doesn't matter how long it's taken, we can still have what it is we want. This is August. 2021 is not over. So I don't know if you wanted it to happen in January, it didn't happen. February, March, it didn't happen. Q2 didn't happen. Guess what? It still can happen if we put the right focus on it. And if for some of us, it might take somebody else egging us on, encouraging us, telling us, you know what, I believe in you. So listen to me today. I believe you can achieve whatever those dreams are. I don't know what it is that you think is becoming impossible. It is not impossible if you continue to feed it and give it the right kind of energy. So that's what was coming up for me today. And it all started from, where laws and all of that. And of course, my mind went down many rabbit holes, and here I am. So I'm going to open it up, and yeah, you guys can weigh in. Hi, Mandy.
Hi, Ivié.
Hello.
I clicked that without even thinking about it. I was like, oh, God. It was like, just don't have to, like, oh my God, I've done it. Anyway, I love the story. It reminded me of Mr. Darcy as well and Catherine de Bourgh in Pride and Prejudice. I don't know. under his station. But yes, I have delayed quite a few things. I don't think they're impossible. But it's almost like you're speaking to me today, and I think it's been quite a few bits this week with some of the things, but I've just not actually said anything. And obviously, I mean, I've gone 15 years looking for a relationship, but I don't see that that's something that isn't going to happen yet. It's just something that I've not focused on. But at the moment, the delay is with the business that I'm trying to set up. And I wanted it to be last quarter, and I think it's going to end up over this quarter. And it's not that I think it's impossible, but one of the things I wanted to raise, because you're talking about all the laws and everything, and then how you think about it, is that I totally believe in the laws, and I love Science of Getting Rich. I love Napoleon Hill. I love everything else. But from a young girl or a young child of about 7, I suppose, don't remember much before that, I always felt that whenever I looked forward to stuff, it didn't happen. And I always felt that, and then I tried to be positive after reading Norman Vincent Peale and some other bits and pieces. And I think at that point, I just said everything had to be positive and things wouldn't go wrong. And that was wrong, because obviously you have got a roller coaster in life where things are going to change. But then as I got older and older, everything that I ever looked forward to that I really specifically focused on, all the details, never came true all the time. So it's really hard. And I was doing that for a while with Think and Grow Rich, and I still want to, but I've tried a few things recently and they haven't happened, and it's made me think, am I going to kibosh it by thinking about those things? I still want to do it, and I still can understand why you would want to do that, but it's become a real issue. So I might be going to Cyprus next week, hopefully, if we can get out of the country, because it's been booked for ages, and all I've done is I've just not thought about it. So we're either going to Devon or we're going to Cyprus. I really want to go to Cyprus because I just need some time. I need some downtime. I need some sun, which we don't get over here, do we? But every time in the past where I've sort of thought about things in detail, it won't happen. So I'm not thinking about it. I'm thinking about what I have to do. I'm thinking about the PCR test we need and all this sort of thing and all the bits that I have to do. But I said to myself, I'm not going to believe I'm here until I get into that hotel. And it's limiting life a bit, I think. It's limiting life because I'm scared to think that things can go well, or that you can believe that everything you focus on is going to happen, because everything's told me in the past that it won't. And it doesn't mean I don't believe in it. It's just that that's a sort of a limiting belief. So I don't know what you think about that.
All right. Thank you, Mandy. I mean, I love it when you share, because you always talk about yourself so openly. You let us in, which is, I think it's priceless. I mean, it's an honor that you let us in and you just share so much about you with us. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, I can't thank you enough for that. And I think that's what makes the conversations as rich as they are when you share. So that was one thing I wanted to say right off the bat. The second thing I wanted to say was, I know that there are things you have achieved in your life. And I'm going to use one example, your son. When he was in your tummy, you must have gone shopping for baby clothes. You must have got the nursery ready. You must have gone for your scans, heard the heartbeat, and you knew that in 36 weeks, 40 weeks, however long it took, you were going to have this little creature in your hands, right? I don't know what else in your life, but I want to believe that when it came to your son growing inside of you, you must have believed, you must have pictured yourself as a mom. You must have pictured him in the pram and you pushing the pram. You must have pictured, I mean, unless you didn't do any of that. I mean, if you didn't do any of that, then maybe your strategy works for you. But I think where I'm coming from with this train of thought is, what are the things that have happened that are positives for you? And really dig into, did you focus on them? So the
Yeah,
role you
I
had
think,
your
sorry, Ivié.
your child, did you focus on any of those things? I mean, whatever else that's positive that's happened for you.
No, that is a good point. I mean, it didn't help with my son because we were going through a divorce at the time when I was pregnant with him. I was 7 months pregnant when my ex left. But I said, rather than focusing on it, I really wanted that child. And what I said was, as long as I'm healthy and he's healthy, I'm happy. And it wasn't an easy birth, but he was healthy and I was healthy, and that was what I really wanted. And he's the best thing that's ever happened to me. He's just fantastic. There was one thing that I did, which was going for a job. I'd been working somewhere for a long time until James got into the senior school. And it was not doing my mental health any good at all. And I really needed to get out of that job. And I went for another one, which was the next level up. And I said to them, I need to leave at 4 o'clock. Is this going to be possible? And she'd said no. But before I went to the interview, I was really nervous. I'd been following EFT at that point, and I just said to myself, right, if I'm really nervous, I'm not going to get this job. It's not going to happen because you're going to be nervous. You have got to go and give the best thing that you can possibly give and do the best performance that you can possibly do. And that's what I did. I calmed myself down and I went and I did it. And even though I said I couldn't do it, leave at 4 o'clock, that Friday she phoned me up and said I had the job. And I said to her, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I said, you're giving me the job. I said, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I was just, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I did that job, but that job has got me to the next step. It's got me where with the things I'm doing now, and I can see why I did it. But that was something that, yeah, there are good things that happen in my life. But if I'd have planned, it's when I actually focused on them to every nth degree, which is what we're told to do as part of the visualization and everything, that doesn't happen. And I tried to, I even tried to think about England winning the Euros, go for their penalties. Right, I'm going to focus on them picking up the cup, because if they can pick up the cup, well, we can do this. And they didn't. They still lost on penalties, and that was my point where I thought, it's not working, is it? So I think I need to just pick small things, don't I, and just take a chance and just. But I mean, the business, I am going to still do it. I am disappointed, but I've been finding that I hold myself back, and why I've fixed certain things that I've been doing, and there was a lot to learn, and I just got to let myself off, not beat myself up, and I'm still doing it. I'm still going for it. I'm still, working towards it. It's just going to take a bit longer, and I just have to just note that, I think.
Okay. I mean, does anybody else want to weigh in on this? I mean, that's where I was coming from, but somebody might have another perspective on this. Hi, Janet.
Hello, darling. Well, I have to say, Mandy, you might find that your trip will open lots of things in your head. I decided, I finished my teaching for the summer. Yay. I have a month before I have to show up again. That doesn't mean, of course, that 2 weeks in I won't be starting to create things for that class, but never mind. I decided to have a week devoted to self-care. This is when I get to take long baths, long sleep. I get to go out and walk, and it doesn't matter if I'm going to collapse afterwards, because I have nothing on the only thing on my docket is self-care. Go through all of my essential oils, organize them again, relearn how to use them in my life, my nutrition, my supplements, my exercise work, going toward my qigong, all of the things that feed me. And so even though I can't start that until Thursday, that's another story. The thing is that I have decided a week of self-care. And so I have relaxed some of the things of have to do this, have to do that, get this done, something, work toward that. And I find that I have ideas flooding in now because I've kind of let go a little bit. I've kind of relaxed a little bit. And I'm, Mandy, I'm thinking of how wonderful when you get to where you're going and you say, oh, I just feel so good. Oh, but wait a minute, I've got to get a pencil and paper because this idea is flowing in. So Reiki is one of the things I do. And I just ordered a book from my original and most wonderful teacher. And she says, so Reiki, you are, energy is flowing through you and you are giving it to the person. It could be yourself as well. And she has a thing in there where if you're trying to do Reiki, you're trying to give that energy, it's not really happening as much. But if you relax and do pretend Reiki, just kind of doing the thing, the flow opens. One of the laws that is constriction and flow. If you are trying so hard to do something, you are actually cutting off some of the flow, the natural thing that will come through. And so I have experienced just this week, untry a little bit, just relax a little bit. And the flow, I think it opens the floodgates. Things are starting to, I'm writing down lots of ideas. I'm thinking, oh, why didn't I think of that before? Something right in where I'm working. So yes, the laws and the dreams. I think sometimes we work so hard on something that we can't see the forest for the trees. We are just so into the detail, we don't get into the overall. And the dream, I think, is about the overall. Yes, the details are how we make it happen. But I'm excited for you, Mandy, to go on your trip. Please stay safe. And 'cause I'm not traveling anywhere at the moment. But yeah, I just think, your story, and she worked so hard on it, but things came to her and she had already the training to make something happen. So great story. And thank you, Ivié.
Thanks, Janet. Great perspective. Thank you for weighing in, Janet. Does anybody else want to say anything to Mandy, or does anybody have a new train of thought that you'd like us to explore?
Sure.
Hi,
Hi. Hello. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Doing great. One of the perspectives that you always look to when you are expecting something is you have to look at the higher power that you pray to, believe in, are subservient to, whether you call it the universe, whether you call it God, whether you call it, the natural order of things or laws, whatever. You have to trust what they say and what they yield. Like you said, seed time and harvest, the ebb and the flow, the yin and the yang. I mean, all these things are there for our learning and for our edification. And when we get in trouble is in the impatience that we have as a flesh creature. I'm a Christian, and I believe in we can do all things through Christ that strengthens us. Okay, and it says, "Greater is He that is in me than he is in the world." So when I think about that, I put it in terms of source. Are you connected to source? And if you know that source is perfect, and you know that source lives in you, then you know that the expectations you have are great and they will come to pass. But the hard thing about any kind of fruition is focus. The hard thing about it is stick-to-itiveness. The hard thing about it is the knowing that certain way that we have learned here lately. We've got to be assured, I like to use examples in my life. Like one of the things that John said that has helped me a lot is, you're not really selling anything, Edward. That's the way I'm looking at it for me. You're not selling anything, Edward. What you're doing is you're just making people aware of a great program that thousands of people have already taken advantage of. So it's up to you because you already got it. So what you have to look at is it's already done. It's already done. And if you just walk it out, because when we get distracted, because I'm bad about this, getting distracted, because when you get distracted, then for sure it's either going to be delayed or it's not going to happen. Because another truth that really resonates with me is you've never failed. You've never failed. None of us have. Because what we did is we changed direction toward the accomplishment of something that we didn't want. But we did it perfectly every time. So there's no such thing as failure. It's the success of something that we didn't want, or we got our eyes off the prize. So the prize we wanted was not the prize we got because we took our eyes off the prize we wanted and we looked at what we didn't want. But in reality, that's really what we wanted, because guess what? That's exactly what we got. So the universe doesn't say, I'm going to do it for Ivié, but I'm not going to do it for you, Edward. I'm going to do it for you, Mandy, but I'm not going to do it for you, Mark. It doesn't say that. It says, God is no respecter of persons. So that means that if he did it for Bill Gates, he'll do it for you. If he did it for Mark Cuban, he'll do it for you. And anybody else that is in this flesh suit that we call life. So, like I said, I don't have all the answers at all, but I definitely understand where you're coming from, Mandy. And there's a lot of things that are not in fruition the way I want them to be. Trust me. You look around, there's just so much that you want to do, so much you want to be, so much you want to have, so much you want to experience that you haven't gotten there yet. But the key to it all is great expectations, great possibilities, somebody else, there's social proof to let you know that, hey, it's possible. Somebody else has done it, and they pretty much put their pants on the same way you do. So that's the belief you got to have. And like you said, belief is the key. Belief is the key to know that you know for sure that it's possible. So thank you.
Wow. Awesome. As always. Thanks, Edward. Oh my goodness. That was just, everything you said and then some. I'm like, yes, thank you. Thank you. Mandy, so I'm hoping that between my perspective, Janet's, and Edward's, it's giving you something to work with. And this is the strength of this family, of this platform, that we can all come from our different perspectives and just weigh in on a topic, and it opens up our minds, right? One thing I did want to say, following on from what Edward said, was I think there's a very fine line between visualization, autosuggestion, and worry, right? Because sometimes when we think about something like to the nth degree, with that kind of, oh my goodness, you will happen, it's almost borderline worry. It's a very fine line from moving from the positive of focusing on something to moving to the, oh my God, I'm now obsessive and I'm so consumed by this kind of thing. There's a negative side to focusing on something, and there's a positive side to focusing on something. And I think that's where we need to get that balance right. I mean, I'm not saying, Mandy, that you're doing the negative part of it, but I'm just saying that I think there's a fine line from when it becomes not quite the kind of energy we want to feed the dream with or the objective with, right? So that's what I would say, one. And I like what Edward said. I think another thing we picked up from all the books we've read is that the universe, these laws, these principles, these whatever else you want to call them, and not geared towards certain people and not others. It will happen regardless of skin tone, age, gender, geographical location. I mean, there's stories the world over, right? With people who've come from nothing, become something, people who've tried again and again and again, and it's taken them so many tries to get to where they want to be, right? So that's another thing I want to say. As diverse as we are on this platform, there is no reason why all of us individually and collectively cannot achieve those objectives, whatever they are on a personal level. These laws will work regardless. It's not, yeah, it's not conditional on what you have or who you are now. If you work it that, like Edward said, in that certain way, right? It just has to happen. Hasn't got a choice, right? So what I would say is maybe we should go back to the auto-suggestion chapter and read those words again. Maybe we should go back to the definition of the certain way, just to refresh our memories as to what that is, right? Because there is a way to do it, clearly, and there's a way not to do it, right? And maybe, Mandy, you're just finding the ways not to do it in your circumstance, right? But then there'll be the way to do it, and it will happen like that. And you will be like, oh my goodness, amazing, right? How did this happen? So maybe you're discovering, you're on that journey to finding that certain way for you, right? So that's what's coming up for me. Does anybody else have anything else to weigh in on this?
I'm going to say one more thing, okay?
Yeah.
You're talking about that certain way. I've got an acronym for that, okay? WAVE, W-A-V-E. You got to catch the wave. W stands for work ethic. You know, you've got to be in flow and state of mind of the work ethic, enjoying what it is you're doing, enjoying the process. Number two, attentiveness. You got to focus on where you're going, where you're trying to go. And then number three is the V is visualization, just like you talked about. You got to see it. You got to see the reaching. You got to see where you're going. And then last but not least, you've got to have great expectation. So you catch the wave, W-A-V-E, and all of that, you know, will come. It might not come right now. It might not come tomorrow. But if you stay in the wave, because remember, what happens is the attentiveness that we have changes to something else. And we forget momentarily about what our real goal is. And that's why we always never fail, because the attentiveness changes and we always get what it is we pay attention to. So that's it.
Oh, brilliant. Edward, can you write the wave thing in the chat, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything they want to share with us? Yeah. Okay, I'm happy to give us back a couple of minutes. I think Edward is just putting the wave, yeah. So work ethic, attentiveness, visualization, expectation. Thanks, Ego.
Thanks, Ivié.
Okay. So Edward is just going to finish typing, so we have it in the chat and everybody can save it on the computers. I've looked at the diary and there's nothing else on today. So let's go out there. Let's focus positively. Let's channel energy towards what it is we want to achieve. And I'm wishing everybody every success. I mean, let's just go out there and make a spectacle of ourselves, like John likes saying. You know, I think it's doable. I think it's we deserve it, right? It's not going to, you know, pass us by. We can have as much as we want of whatever it is we want, right? So, and Mandy, if I don't see you before you go away, have a great time away. Come back refreshed, revived, rejuvenated, everything. So you're good to go. Thank you so much, Janet and Edward and Mandy and Ego for weighing in. Marcus had to leave. And yeah, that's it. So there's nothing else on the calendar. So we will see everybody on general session tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks, Ivié.
Thank you, Ivié.
Bye,
Great to see you,
everyone.
honey.
Thanks, everyone.